Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. For today's video, I'm going to give you a little tour of my tiny little production studio down here in South Shanghai. I moved down here about a year and a half ago when we ran into this pandemic and work had slowed down, so I decided to, of course everybody was working from home, so I decided to work from home and decided to move all my gear out of the studio I was renting into my house and set up this little tiny studio in the back of my apartment. So let me give you a little tour. So this is my DAW. My DAW is Nuendo. I worked on Pro Tools for a lot of years, but just due to their subscription service and their customer service that's just lacking a bit, I ended up switching over to Nuendo about 2 years ago, and honestly I never looked back. It's a great DAW and I love it. I'm working on a 2-monitor system. When I'm working with picture, I have the picture I put up on this big TV here, and then I have my main edit window here in my main monitor. Every once in a while I'll bring in my iPad and use Sidecar if I want to have a third monitor, and I just put it down here, but I don't have that set up right now. Over here I've got some MIDI controllers. So this is my Machine Mark II from Native Instruments. I use this for percussive and mallet type instruments pretty much exclusively. A lot of people use that to do some really cool sample editing and music on the fly, and I've watched all those YouTube videos and I'm really envious, and I've always wanted to get into the Machine software and learn how to do that. Maybe one day I will, but as for now I use that mostly just for percussion and things that I don't want to be beating the keyboard for. In the middle I've got a Rolly C-board, which I hardly ever use. It looked really cool and I wanted to try it out, so I got it. I honestly don't use it as much as I thought I would. Every once in a while I use it, but not very often. In the corner over there is my CalDigit USB hub. This is a Thunderbolt USB hub, and pretty much everything from my studio runs into that, and then I run it through one USB or one Thunderbolt cable into my system. So it's been really helpful. I got that about 6 months ago and it's been great. I haven't had any problems with it. I really like it. And my monitors, I should talk about my monitors. I've got the KRK V8s for my stereo monitors. Hiding back behind there is another V4 for my center when I'm working in surround. And actually on these sides I have 2 other surround, which are the BX5s by M Audio. And then down below I've got a 10-inch sub. So that's my monitor system. That's all running into running from my Apollo X4, which is the newest addition to the studio. I got that about 9 months ago, and I really like it. It's my interface, my volume knob, and I run a lot of things into that using the console program, where you can really use the UAD plugins. I never used UAD plugins before, and I've really fallen in love with them. They're great sounding plugins. I haven't actually even bought any. I'm only using the ones that came with the interface, and they're great. Honestly, I love them. I use them before I record. So like everything from my synthesizers, I run into that, and then I do the processing before, kind of in an old workflow type situation, and then I record that. I print that right down. I don't even do it. A lot of people like to do that afterwards, but honestly, I've really enjoyed locking in the sound and just committing to it and printing that down and working with that. So that one's been really great. It's also a quad core processor to take away some of the processing payload or whatever from my system, which has also helped a lot. So like I said, I run my synthesizers and a lot of things into that. So that's a good segue to move over to this wall where we have my synthesizers. So let me move the camera. So here's my wall of synthesizers, or my collection of synthesizers. So let me tell you about that. So starting down at the bottom, this is my JDXA. It's my polyphonic analog digital crossover synth. This is like my main polyphonic synth. I've had it for about 5 or 6 years. I don't think I've gotten all the power out of this yet. It's a great synthesizer. I'm still learning about it. It works great and I love it. I also use this as my MIDI keyboard. It's a great MIDI keyboard. So moving up to my modular setup here, I got it divided into kind of brand sections. The bottom brand is kind of my percussion. I've got some tip top, some noise engineering, a little bit of mutable instruments here. This section is kind of my IntelliGel, the Atlantis, Metropolis, and my Roland filter. That's my IntelliGel. Up here I've got my favorite synth of all time, which is my Make Noise shared system. I've got some videos about that on my channel if you want to check it out. And then over here are my Moog synths. This is the Mother 32 and the DFAM. Mother 32 is probably my go-to for just clean sounding bass. I use some other things like this I use for more acid bass, but this just gives you that low, great Moog, clean sounding bass. All that running into my 442 mixer here by Synthesizers, which is an old analog ENG mixer that I've kind of repurposed and used as my main mixer for my synthesizers. And it sounds great. It's got a really cool sound, and I'm glad that I could use it. I don't use it for production anymore, and I'm glad that it's found another home. On top of that is my Mix Pre D. I use this every once in a while as like a preamp, or if I need a couple other channels, then I can run this directly into my system. And then my system is here. This is 2017, 2018 MacBook Pro, nicely spec'd. I probably can get another 2 or 3 years out of this, I think. Haven't had any big problems with it. It's been a pretty good computer. So just over here, I'll give you a shot of that, is a microphone that I grab whenever I need a microphone. This is the DPA 2018. It's a really great sounding microphone. Don't have any complaints about that. So that's this area, so let's go to the other side. All right, so here's the other side of my very tiny production studio here. And over here I've got my, my Phantom G6, which is the first ever professional keyboard that I purchased. Every once in a while I use it just to make myself feel a little bit better about how much money I spent on it back in the day, but I really don't use it that much. And if I ever upgrade to another keyboard, I'm worried that this one might find itself in the case. But it's a beautiful keyboard. It does a lot of great things that I never was really able to dig into as much as I should have. On my window, I've got a bunch of just little knickknacks and things that I've collected. Sometimes when I'm working, I want to take a break, I'll just turn around and like look out the window, and it's nice to have kind of like a lot of nice little knickknacks there to look at, make me feel more at home. Down below is just storage. I've got some microphones and other things that I can just grab when I need to. Most of it is production type stuff, but you know, it's just things that I need in the studio that I've got stored away down here. And over here is kind of like my battery section for my microphones and production gear and camera and YouTube stuff over there. So let's turn around to the last wall. All right, so here's my last wall. This is mostly just storage of my production gear. I've got my Pellies here with all of my mixers and whatever I use for my location sound recording, camera gear. Here's my small mixer where I'm actually recording the dialogue that you're hearing right now. That's some Zaxcom wireless and the Mix Pre 3 from Sound Devices, which I bought. It's a really inexpensive mixer, and I use way more than I thought I would. I have a bunch of other production mixers, Zaxcom Nomad. I've got some Sound Devices things that are really expensive, and I bought this one to see how it was going to be, and honestly, I use it all the time now. It's kind of sad because it's actually pretty inexpensive, but it sounds great. It's got a lot of features. Here I've got my production bag that I take on location, drone over here, and down below some instruments. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to check out my small studio down here in South Shanghai. If you like what I do, please give me a thumbs up and check out some other videos on my channel. And remember to hit that subscribe button so I can see you guys in the next video. Till then, all the best.